Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, which I've linked down in the description below, we used a team that reached rank number 1 at the very start of the season, built and piloted by a player called Neil VGC, who I've also linked down in the description below. He's got an awesome YouTube channel, so please go check him out. And yeah, this team is just really powerful. It centers around, dual speed control Whimsicott with Trick Room and Tailwind, and you've got some really strong sets like Gigantamax Charizard, and yeah, just classic Groudon and Kyogre here, as well as a wide guard Lunala. So we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Thank you so much as always for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I don't really know very much about mythical Pokemon at all, both competitively and non-competitively, so I'm curious which mythical Pokemon you think has the best lore. So let me know down in the comment section below, inspired by, of course, Series 13 being a mythical format. And so yeah, let's get started. Alright, our first match here, and it is Victini, Regieleki, Groudon, Zacian, Yveltal, and Calyrex-I Rider. So what are their means of speed control? Electro Web from the Regieleki, Trick Room from Calyrex-I Rider. Dynamax Groudon's powerful here. They don't have a water resistance or immunity, so Kyogre is also powerful. Honestly, all of our Pokemon are decent here. Charizard's also really good. I probably don't want Yveltal, or sorry, Lunala given the Yveltal. I don't think, I think a Whimsicott Charizard lead here is okay with Kyogre and Groudon in the back. I mean, Zacian's also really solid here. But I like Kyogre and Groudon because I can switch in Groudon to activate Solar Power for Groudon. And then I can try to end the game with Kyogre's Water Spouts. Yeah. So we'll see. I think you could make a really good argument for Zacian. I mainly wanted Whimsicott here because my opponent doesn't have great speed control, and they don't have a way to really deny me the Tailwind, right? So if I get Tailwind up, I think Charizard can just like sweep through pretty quickly in itself. And they're gonna go with Victini and Regieleki. Okay, that works for me. What do I want to do against this? The main thing I guess I'm interested in is the item on the Regieleki. We can Tailwind pretty easily here. Who's their Dynamax option? It could be Victini. I mean, here I think I'm down to just Tailwind and Wildfire, because if they don't Dynamax Regieleki, then I can just KO them. They're not going to max. It could be Focus Sash as well, obviously. But if it's Sash, then you won't be able to KO my Charizard. I think the interesting thing in this matchup is that Groudon, Charizard, and Kyogre are all actually really solid max options. But I want to commit to Charizard here because I think I don't really need max for Groudon or Kyogre to thrive, right? If I get the Wildfire up, that already puts me in a really good spot. And they actually just protect Regieleki, which is more than okay with me. Because this next turn, now I can go for something like a Groudon switch in into Max Airstream on Victini. Oh, it could be Trick Room Victini. I actually just thought about that. If it is Trick Room, though, that's fine. I can just Max Guard my Charizard and then reverse it with Whimsicott. So let's see if they Trick Room. They do. Okay, that's really cool. Nicely done. Nicely done. I feel like I'm so used to seeing Final Gambit Victini, but I actually think it's really solid as a Trick Room option. So I'm just going to reverse Trick Room here. Max Guard. I'm now curious if Victini has like a Focus Sash, for example. They could double up onto Whimsicott here. Yep, there's V-Create. Okay. Could be something like V-Create Electro Web. Okay, brings us to Sash. What does Regieleki go for? They Rising Voltage into Charizard. Okay, cool. That works out. So we successfully reversed Trick Room now, which is good. Regieleki continues to take Wildfire damage. The only downside here is I'll have spent 3 turns of Dynamax on Charizard. I think here I'm worried about Focus Sash Victini, and I don't want it to get Trick Room up again, so I'm down to Max Airstream and Energy Ball it for a KO. Okay, no Protect from either Pokemon, that's good. Energy Ball here is just to break the Focus Sash. And they already have a special defense drop, which we can take advantage of thanks to V-Create. And Airstream gets the KO. Cool. So the awkward thing in this is that I never really set up the Sun for Charizard, and so, yeah, I wasn't really able to sweep through very quickly, but I didn't think about Victini Trick Room when I was looking at Team Preview there, and that's something I should have given a little bit more thought to. You go for an Electro Web, okay. So now they can bring in Yveltal, Zacian, Calyrex-Ice Rider. I think I'm okay to just go out into Groudon here. Yeah, I got a speed boost, so it negates the Electro Web speed drop, and so, like, Groudon plus Charizard just puts on a lot of pressure right now. Mainly curious who they want to Dynamax. Like, Yveltal makes the most sense to me right now from this angle. They bring out Calyrex-Ice Rider. Oh, okay. I mean, that's really good for me, I would argue, given the two that I have out on the field right now. Regieleki's going to faint from Wildfire after this turn, so you can protect, but then you're just going to faint, and then you have to switch into your final Pokemon. So they could obviously max Calyrex, but that wouldn't be ideal for them. You can max Guard. I'm down to just Fire Punch Calyrex here in Heat Wave. I'm surprised they brought Calyrex out in front of a Charizard, honestly. But maybe their plan is to just max guard it, or protect, and then get a free switch in once Regieleki faints. Yep, they're going to commit the Dynamax here. Okay. I mean, if it's Calyrex that you're Dynamaxing, I think that's maybe one of the less scary options, because I at least have really good damage for it. I guess the only interesting thing is how fast is the Calyrex? Like, are you max speed Calyrex? Because then, if you outspeed Groudon, that's actually really interesting. Regieleki protects, but that's fine. We know it's going to faint after this turn anyway. No max guard, interesting. Okay. So I get Heat Wave off. Yeah, that's just so much damage on a Calyrex. And we are faster. Nice. Groudon gets the Fire Punch off. Cool. Wildfire might just finish off the Calyrex from that range. They're going to Hailstorm, but that's more than okay with me. And they actually even target Charizard rather than Groudon, which is perfect. This is where, once again, like, having the Trick Room on Whimsicott is really important, because if we didn't have Trick Room there, I actually just get swept most likely, because they just outspeed me under Trick Room, and yeah, can pretty easily clean up the game. And then, like, they would get Calyrex-Ice Rider under Trick Room, right? And that would just be a nightmare for me. Okay, hail damage comes out. Last turn of Wildfire, so Regieleki ends up staying on the field for a lot longer than one would expect when playing against the team that we're using here. Is Calyrex faint as well? Beautiful. Yeah, I'm really surprised to not see them go for a max guard there, sacrifice Regieleki, and get a free switch in so that you at least put on a little bit more offensive pressure. But maybe they just weren't expecting Groudon to have so much like Fire Punch there, and they were hoping for me to not do as much damage to Calyrex. But in the end, they traded one turn of Dynamax on Calyrex for a KO onto regular Charizard at 40%, right? Like, that's totally worth it for us. Zacian comes out, perfect. Not really going to be able to win the 2v1 in this position. Okay. Set up the rain here. Okay. I think they recognize the game is over. But yeah, there's still one potential way my opponent could win, which was, like, Groudon missing multiple Precipice Blades, Zacian play rough KOs Kyogre, and then crit Behemoth Blade on a Groudon. I'm not even sure crit Behemoth Blade gets the KO, though. Yeah, so it was Focus Sash Victini. You can see with V-Create, Helping Hand, Taunt, and Trick Room, so that's why I wanted to double up onto it to ensure it didn't get another Trick Room up. Max Speed still, which is pretty interesting. Magnet Regieleki, that makes sense. Max Speed, Salt Vest Groudon. Based off what my opponent brought, I can see why they maxed Calyrex, because it's like they literally just didn't have a better max option, but I still think they were better off sacrificing Lecky to get a free switch it into Zacian, because then Zacian could at least put on offensive pressure. They actually got Solar Blade, and then it was Play Rough as well, and it was Admin. So, like, let's say you max guard the, yeah, you max guard in that position, then I bring out the, well, Charizard doesn't faint, but Regieleki faints, Zacian comes out, then Zacian can target the Charizard slot with, like, a Behemoth Blade, Charizard faints, then I Precipice Blades. Comes down to whether or not Precipice Blades could one-shot Zacian, because if it can, then Kyogre can just come out and click Water Spout, and maybe still win the game, but yeah, it would have been a lot closer. Life Orb Yveltal, Expert Belt Calyrex with Seed Bomb, max HP, max attack. Yeah, so the Victini set's the one I'm most interested in here, just because like we haven't used or fought. We've used Victini a little bit, but I was using a Scarf set, which I don't think is very consistent. I think this Sash set is really smart. Yeah, with Taunt and Helping Hand, which is really cool. So I like this a lot, actually. I kind of want to explore that as an idea later on. But other than that, Solar Blade's the other big surprise here on my opponent's team. Everything else is relatively standard. I guess I'd also call out Seed Bomb and Expert Boat here on Calyrex. That's not like a super standard set you would see in Series 12. So yeah. Either way, though, this is just the power of Charizard and Whimsicott being able to reverse Trick Room. So, yeah, turns out Charizard is still very good. Alright, next game here, and it's Kyurem-White, which I think is actually pretty underrated. I think obviously this format is super centralized, but you do have upside to just use more of the less common restricteds that players use in Series 12. I mean, here we've got Solgaleo, Kyurem. They have Yveltal, Calyrex, Whimsicott, and the Zeraora. So Zeraora means they can actually click Fake Out on a Whimsicott, which is not ideal. If I were them, I think leading it makes a lot of sense. Zeraora also pressures Charizard with speed control. Something like Zeraora plus Kyurem-White's really interesting, because you can just Electro Web into Max Hailstorm, but Lunala can Wide Guard against that. I could go the Trick Room route here. Like, set up Trick Room with Whimsicott, Lunala Wide Guards, bring out Groudon and Dynamax it, and then clean up the game with Kyogre. It just feels, I guess, weird not bringing Zacian into this matchup, but Solgaleo scares me a little bit. Kyogre or Zacian here? I do have Quick Attack on Zacian as well, but I think I prefer Kyogre here. Yeah, because they don't have that many great immunities or resistances to water here. Kyurem's their best bet, but Lunala plus Groudon is fairly strong into that. So, we'll see. I don't know, I think Kyurem in general is actually quite strong against us. It's the Kyurem plus the Zeraora, but I guess if I were worried about that, then Whimsicott plus Zacian would be the lead to beat that specific combination. I just don't know if they're actually going to go with that, right? Because there's so many other modes they can go with outside of that. So that is going to be Whimsicott and Kyurem. Okay, that's fine. The thing is, I don't really want to Tailwind here. If anything, I'd rather Trick Room, I think. I could also Helping Hand Meteor Beam Kyurem immediately, which I was going to say I'm not completely opposed for, but if they just Tailwind Hailstorm Whimsicott and I knock out Kyurem, that trade actually, is it good for me? I guess it's okay, because then I can Wide Guard with Lunala in subsequent turns, right? But I feel like getting Speed Control here is really nice. So I'm actually down to click Meteor Beam into the Kyurem slot, and then instead of Tailwinding, I'm going to click Trick Room here. The thing is, I could Trick Room with either slot, but if I don't Trick Room, if I Trick Room with, like, Lunala, what am I going to do with Whimsicott this turn, right? Not really sure. So the hope is, the best output would be their Whimsicott Dynamaxing, they Hailstorm into my Whimsicott, I Trick Room, I Meteor Beam into Kyurem. But they actually just go for Freeze Dry, which is really smart. And their Whimsicott is slower than the Kyurem, which either means Scarf Kyurem or more likely they're also clicking Trick Room here. Yeah, and given the Life Orb there, that seems to be the case. Which is also funny. I actually wonder if they were trying to reverse my Trick Room or they were just trying to set it up themselves because they were expecting me to Tailwind. The Whimsicott Mind Games with Trick Room in this format is just so entertaining. But we do get a clean knockout into Kyurem immediately, which is decent to start the game. The problem is now... Oh! Okay, they just have a really slow Whimsicott. They weren't clicking Trick Room there. Huh. Interesting. So now they can go into Yveltal, they can go into Calyrex. Dynamax Groudon's really solid against those. If they go into Calyrex, I can Wide Guard. I could still Dynamax Lunala from this angle as well. I didn't expect their Whimsicott to be slower than Lunala. That's interesting. They are going to bring out Calyrex. Okay. Like, against Calyrex, I think I want to... The thing is whether or not they expect Wide Guard and they Dynamax Calyrex this turn. I'm also thinking about Dynamaxing Lunala to deal with their Dynamax Calyrex potentially. I mean, what I want to do here is Wide Guard. Max Groudon, and then Quake into Calyrex. Their counterplay is Dynamax Calyrex here, but they're not going to. Okay, huge. Because if I wanted to respond to Dynamax Calyrex, I think it's maybe maxing Lunala myself. I am curious. I really don't know the damage calc on, like, Phantasm. We know it's not from, you know, Life Orb Calyrex. So, like, from Focus Sash Calyrex or maybe Spell Tag, how much a Phantasm would do to Lunala. But, yeah, Wide Guard here is huge. Let's see what they opt for. Okay, Whimsicott Trick Rooms. That's totally... sorry, Tailwinds. That's totally okay. They're already faster than me. Okay, they go for Imprison, which I'm okay with. They're clearly trying to Imprison Trick Room, but that's fine. We get a special defense boost here. And that is Focus Sash on the Calyrex. Okay, makes sense. I mean, you could Dynamax here, but that would be kind of gutsy, I think. Getting a special defense boost here is really nice. Given that, then, and given that I just revealed, like, the Wide Guard, I'm not sure you would just go for Astral Barrage again, right? So I'm actually thinking I'm willing to Moongeist Beam into Whimsicott here and Max Rockfall, because that's just a double KO. I guess the only downside there is it would... Oh, Whimsicott's also not sashed here, right? Wait, so Whimsicott's not sashed? I mean, Lunala's Shadow Shield's gonna be broken here anyway, most likely. I guess I could switch out in a Kyogre here and Rockfall. I went for Moongeist Beam Flare, but it should have been a Steel Spike for a defense boost. They're switching out. Into Solgaleo! Never mind. Flare was fine. That's cool. They go for Bulldoze to activate Weakness Policy, but I'm not sure how cool that actually is for my opponent, because they're eating up a Max Flare here. I would expect them to survive Max Flare, though, right? Okay. And that was smart, because even if I Wide Guarded there, it would still hit their own Solgaleo there. So Moongeist Beam will snipe off the Calyrex. We'll get a pretty powerful Max Flare and a Solgaleo. And I still have another turn to Dynamax after this turn, so I feel like we should be in a pretty good spot. The problem with Solgaleo is it won't be able to KO enough Pokemon quickly enough, I think, if it survives the Flare here, which it does not. Okay. Nice. It's funny because I was like, yeah, thinking Steel Spike's always just the more optimal play there, but yeah, switching to Solgaleo is the one reason why it wouldn't be as optimal. But I think from my opponent's angle, they were probably saying, okay, I don't really have a great chance of winning this game anyway. My only way is to Dynamax Solgaleo. Truthfully, even if they got Solgaleo out there, like, I could just KO Whimsicott with Groudon on my final turn of Dynamax with the Steel Spike, get a defense boost, and then Solgaleo would have to beat both Groudon and Kyogre, right? So, and Lunala, right? So, I don't know. Like, I think our odds were still pretty good, but they just really never got too much offense going here, and part of it was the turn 1 trade-off working really well for us. Lunala was just an excellent pick in this game with Wide Guard pressure, as well as the Meteor Beam into Kyurem. And we're pretty weak to Kyurem otherwise, so, yeah. What's interesting about fighting so many of these teams is, in Series 13 in general, is always guessing where the Focus Sash is, right? Is it on Whimsicott? Is it on Calyrex? And I feel like a lot of players are actually moving away from Focus Sash on Whimsicott because, yeah, like, you want it on a restricted Pokemon in this format. But either way, that ends up being pretty good for us. I was mainly just surprised to see their Whimsicott underspeed our Lunala there. I thought surely it was clicking Trick Room on turn 1, but indeed it was not. So makes sense if you're not running Focus Sash on Whimsicott. Probably just an ultra bulky Whimsicott with no speed investment at all. Max HP, max special attack would make a lot of sense to me. But yeah, like, we knocked out one of their 2 primary attackers in the beginning of the game. That Calyrex moveset is interesting as well. It's most likely Astral Barrage, Imprison, Trick Room, and Bulldoze. Given that, yeah, when you run Imprison, you really want Trick Room on the set. So, yeah. But that's one of the benefits of having Max Flare on Groudon and a Fire-type attack on Groudon in general, which is kind of funny to say, but throughout so much of Series 12, like, a lot of players ended up dropping, you know, Heat Crash for, like, Rock, Ground, Swords Dance, Protect, but on the Assault Vest sets, obviously, having Heat Crash or Fire Punch is really valuable. So, yeah. Either way, let's look for one more. Before we do, we can check our opponent's team here. It was Life Orb, Kyurem, Blizzard, Power, Freeze Dry, Protect. Nothing too surprising there. Max Speed. Weakness Policy, Solgaleo. This explains how they didn't really survive Max Flare. They had 0 bulk on it. So Sunsteel Strike, EQ, Wild Charge, Protect. Focus Sash, Calyrex. Yep, Astral Bulldoze, Imprison, Trick Room, as I mentioned. Max Speed, Max Special Attack. Salt Vest Yveltal here, just max as well. Dark Pulse, Oblivion Wing, Heat Wave, Sucker Punch, so no foul play. Ah, it was Iron Ball. That makes sense. It actually was max speed, max special attack. Huh. So switcheroo Iron Ball. That's really interesting. Makes sense to, you know, slow something down. And then Shuka Berry on Zeraora. Max HP, max speed, Plasma Fists, Fake Out, Electro Weapon, Coaching. Very cool. Zeraora is also just a Pokemon I don't have any experience fighting against outside of this format, and I've only played, you know, not that many games of this format, so I'm always curious to see just how players specifically are building these restricted Pokemon. And like both the Zeraora in this game and the Victini in the previous game is, you know, they've been quite different from other variants that I've seen thus far. So that's really neat. This is definitely a Pokemon on my to try list. Alright, our third game of the day, and it's Kyogre, Ho-Oh, Zamazenta, and Zacian. It's cool to see both of those on a team, Groudon and Calyrex. So, the best speed control they have is Trick Room from Calyrex, or Max Airstream from Dynamax Ho-Oh. Our Zacian isn't... It's funny, like, we haven't really brought Zacian out today, right? Like, I've been leaning more towards just this Hyper Offense Suncore. How do I beat Ho-Oh? Actually, I have plenty of Ho-Oh answers, right? Like Stone Edge, Groudon, Water Spout, Kyogre, Meteor Beam, Lunala. I don't think I need to worry about that too much, actually. I mean, I'm down for Whimsicott, Charizard. I guess I could drop Whimsicott in this one, but like the problem is then Zamazenta, Zacian, and Calyrex all outspeed me, which I don't love the idea of. But maybe it's okay. I would love to go like Charizard, Lunala, Groudon, and Kyogre, but like I think getting the speed advantage here might just be worth it. We do have Energy Ball here, which is sizable damage into Groudon and Kyogre. You know what? I think it's optimal to bring Whimsicott here, but I want to get some experience like playing without it and just going with the more offensive core. Basically, the idea of Whimsicott is, yes, you're giving up a restricted slot, but you're doing so to enable all your other Pokemon, right? And, like, Tailwind here is just really strong. But what I'm thinking what we can do here is either pressure Trick Room with Lunala, or Charizard can just start Max Air streaming. So, I'm giving up, you know, speed control for the whole team. Yeah, they're gonna go with Charizard and Zamazenta, actually. Okay, that's really ideal, in my opinion. This is part of the reason why I didn't want to bring Whimsicott, because I was like, okay, Charizard plus Whimsicott's actually really not that good into the Ho-Oh, whereas right now I have, like, 3 really good answers into Ho-Oh. Mainly curious if Ho-Oh protects on turn 1. Because I'm down to just Wildfire into Zamazenta. The question is whether or not Ho-Oh, yeah, protects. Because if not, I can just snipe it with the Meteor Beam as well. Wildfire. I think I'm okay clicking Meteor Beam. I think there's a good chance Ho-Oh protects here. They could also just like Behemoth Bash plus Dynamax Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh actually switches though, okay. Into Kyogre. Ooh, that's smart. You set up the rain so that Zamazenta doesn't faint. Okay, I really like that play on their end. That's okay. Next turn I can pressure with Max Airstream, Moongeist Beam. I'm still getting Wildfire off, which is good. It's not going to do much damage at this point, but like a Wildfire plus a Meteor Beam turn 1, right, into 2 Pokemon that aren't Dynamaxing is still a ton of damage. So I don't think that's a terrible trade-off. And I'm not too worried about Ho-Oh in the long run in this matchup because I still have Stone Edge Groudon and Water Spout Kyogre in the back. But I do have to be careful about how my opponent positions. Their Zamazenta is slower than the Charizard? Okay. I guess that's a pleasant surprise, huh? We get a crit, so that's also fairly lucky. What are they going for? Coaching onto Kyogre? So it's physical Kyogre? What is going on? I mean, that works for me. I can just Max Airstream plus Meteor or Moongeist Beam Kyogre next turn. I don't know, that was a very bizarre turn 1. Like, Zamazenta being slower than Charizard is mind-boggling to me. Oh, that's a huge miss. That is really bad. Okay. Because if we hit that, like, Kyogre can't really reasonably Dynamax next turn. I can just snipe it off, but now it can maybe consider Dynamaxing. That's really frustrating. I don't really want to give up this special attack boost on Lunala either. I mean, I'm down to max Airstream plus Moongeist Beam into Kyogre here, because this, like, are you really a max Kyogre? And the answer is yes. That miss sucks. Yeah, because, like, if we don't miss there, then there's no way you can max Kyogre, and then the next round I can just Airstream Kyogre, and then Moongeist Beam Zama for a double KO, especially since we were faster here, but now Kyogre should survive this. So, that sucks. Is it physical Kyogre though, or did they just go for that for a defense boost? I don't know. I really don't know. That looks like Assault Vest Kyogre to me. Yeah, that's where missing, like, because Meteor Beam into EV Kyogre is not a ton of damage, but it's still enough to chip away at it where I can then look for a KO the subsequent turn. Yeah, it's taking these really well now. Okay, they go for another coaching. Okay, so it's probably just special Kyogre, but they're going for coaching for defense boost because they know they have the Assault Vest. Oh, interesting. They actually choose to Quake here. Okay. Into Lunala. Works for me. If it's Max Quake, though, that actually is physical Kyogre, right? Isn't that coming from Earthquake? That is fascinating. Huh. Not totally oppose the idea of going for max overgrowth here onto Kyogre and then switching out into Groudon. Yeah, I think that's okay. I'm hoping overgrowth plus the residual from Wildfire is enough to get the knockout on a Kyogre, but yeah, that's why that miss earlier really stung. It indeed was physical Kyogre, which is interesting. Okay. Physical Assault Vest Kyogre plus coaching Zamazenta, that's slower than Charizard. It's fascinating. It's not really enough there. Don't love that. But my Kyogre can just outspeed it and KO it with a Thunder, so it's not the end of the world. They go for another coaching? No, they finally... Scary face. Wow, okay. I wonder if they're doubling up onto that slot with the Geyser. Where's Geyser going into is the question here. Into Charizard. Okay. We don't even faint from that? Oh my gosh. I'll take it. I will gladly take it. Zama faints now. I think Kyogre hangs on with just the Sliver here and then heals back from terrain, which is annoying. Yeah. That's just the inherent downside of using Meteor Beam, though. You're gonna miss sometimes, right? It sucks, but we just have to play the game in a completely different manner. Very cool team, though. Because you can see how bulky Kyogre can get, but the lack of damage is just kind of bad for it here, as you can see. So Dynamax ends now. They have Max Quick Special Defense Boost and their Assault Vest, and I don't have Solar Power. So I don't expect Hurricane to KO here. Groudon can't protect here. I mean, they can just Geyser the Groudon slot. I think I want to switch that out into Lunala. I think I'm down for Protect here, and then switch into Lunala. I don't want to just give up both Pokemon here, because the weather dynamic then gets a little bit awkward, but if I Protect and sacrifice Lunala, then I can bring in my Kyogre, because their Kyogre I doubt is max speed here, right? Like, the odds of that when you're a bulky Assault Vest is just so slim. They still could get a double KO here if they Hailstorm into the Groudon slot. Or target the Charizard slot, right? But they Sacred Fire, okay, into Lunala, that's fine. Life Orb Ho-Oh, okay, good to confirm that. And they do just Geyser here. Sacred Fire wouldn't have KO'd Groudon, so yeah, they do double up into that slot, but that's fine. The idea here is if Charizard attacks, it just faints, right? Whereas, like, now I get to hang around for one extra turn, which is pretty critical. Kyogre hangs on with just a sliver of HP, but that's okay. Now I can go into my Kyogre. You know what's interesting here? Like, I don't even need to double protect with Charizard, but I want Charizard to just hang around for a little bit longer, and I don't want to switch out into Groudon either. So I'm actually down to just click protect with it right now. I don't need to get it off. I guess they could switch into their Groudon right now. But that's not that scary. Yeah. I'm actually just going to click protect here in Water Spout. Okay, we don't get it, but they don't switch. Yeah, Ho-Oh commits protect. Because if Groudon's their last one, I can just pivot my Kyogre out into Groudon next turn, sacrifice Charizard, and then bring Kyogre back out to end the game with the Water Spout, right? So it's looking decent right now. Yep, it is Groudon as their final one. Cool. Which also means Charizard now gets a nice attack off before going down, which is neat. I mean, do I ever just stay in with Kyogre here? I think it's right to switch out. The question is who to target. I think Solar Beam onto Groudon is acceptable here, and then switch Kyogre out into my own Groudon is okay. And even if my own Groudon faints, it would be a Kyogre versus Ho-Oh plus Groudon 1v2, where we have Mystic Water and the Rain up. So unless Ho-Oh has some random speed control here that I'm not expecting, I think we should be good. Okay, Charizard gets Solar Beam off. Cool, cool. Into Groudon. Should do a hefty amount. By hefty amount, I guess I mean a one-hit KO. That was the idea of protecting Charizard there, right? Because if I had attacked last turn, and Charizard's attack goes into the Kyogre, I just faint, right? Whereas by conserving Charizard, even though I didn't get the double protect off, I didn't need to, right? The whole idea was to just have it around so that I could not faint from Life Orb recoil. So one of those unique scenarios where I don't really want to switch, but I don't want to attack either because I'm going to faint from Life Orb, so might as well just go for the double. And ends up working out perfectly for us as we even get a free knockout onto Groudon. So, yeah. Meteor Beam misses can be really frustrating, but you just gotta not tilt, you know? It's like it made the game substantially harder for me because it meant that I couldn't Dynamax, or like, because I just would have been in an amazing spot if we hit that Meteor Beam to begin with, right? Because it's like a Meteor Beam pre-Dynamax and pre-Special Defense boosts. But now I can just click. I think Thunder here should just get the KO. I mean, actually, why not Water Spout? Water Spout and just Stone Edge here. It's fine. Yeah. Ho-Oh's pretty cool to see. Like, it is good into, obviously, Zacian. But what's interesting is, like, I'm not really even bringing Zacian as much as... we make two players disconnect today. That's funny. Yeah. This team's power is just very, very overwhelming often. And so, yeah. I feel like even with some things not going our way in this one, it was still okay. The Zamazenta Kyogre combo was really interesting. I'm just so shocked Zamazenta was slower than Kyogre, or sorry, slower than Charizard there. Like, being slower than base 100s is definitely interesting to see, because Zamazenta's base speed is incredible, so it's just probably max HP on the split between, like, HP and special defense. So I'm really curious about that specific team. But yeah, we get a nice string of wins here. You can see how this team was able to reach #1, right? It just is incredibly consistent. And yeah, in this game, like I said, I wanted to drop Whimsicott to try with, having a little bit more offense, and I think it worked out pretty well here because I had so many ways to deal with the Ho-Oh in the end game, whether it be Groudon or Kyogre. And then regular Charizard here, like conserving it for that Solar Beam into Groudon was really sweet. So wonder if Groudon had protected. It didn't look like it was Assault Vest, so they could have protected, KO the Charizard slot, but I think Kyogre endgame was always going to win for us there anyway. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thanks so much as always for watching. Thanks to Neo VGC once again for the team. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.